Dear learners, in this video we are going to study chapter 5. Uh, Chapter 5, that is molecular basis of inheritance. Here we start the previous chapter. You have learned the inheritance patterns and the genetic basis of such patterns. At the time of Mendel, the nature of those factors regulating the pattern of inheritance was not clear. Over the next 100 years, the nature of putative genetic material was investigated, culminating then in the realization that DNA deoxyribonucleic acid is genetic material, at least for the majority of organisms in class 9. 11th you have learned that nucleic acids are polymers of nucleotides. Ribonucleic acid and ribonucleic acid are the two types of nucleic acid found in living systems. DNA acts as genetic material in most of the organism. RNA, though it also acts as genetic material in some viruses, mostly functions as a messenger. RNA has a significant role as well. It functions as adaptive structure and in some cases as catalytic molecule in class 11th. You have already learned that structures of nucleotides and the way these monomers units are linked to form a nucleic acid polymers. In this chapter, we are going to discuss the structure of DNA, its replication, the process of making RNA from DNA, the genetic code that determines the sequence of amino acids in proteins, the process of protein synthesis. Translation is an elementary basis of their regulation. The determination of complete nucleotide sequence of human genome during last decade has set in a new era of genomics. In the last section, the essentials of human genome sequencing and its consequences will also be discussed. Let us begin our discussion by first understanding the structure of the most interesting molecule in the living system, that is the DNA. In subsequent sections, we will understand that why is the most abundant genetic material and what is the relationship with RNA, the DNA. DNA is the long polymer of deoxyribonucleic acid. The length of DNA is usually defined as number of nucleotides. A pair of nucleotides referred to as base pairs present in it. This is also characteristic of an organism. For example, bacteriophage known as 170 to 174 has 5026 nucleotides. Bacteriophage lambda has 4502 base pairs. Escherichia coli has 4.6 into 10 to the power 6 base pairs, and haploid content of DNA is 3.3 into 10 to the power 9 base pairs. And let us discuss the structure of such a long polymer. Structure of polynucleotide chain. Let us recapitulate the chemical structure of polynucleotide chain, DNA or RNA. A nucleotide has three components: a nitrogenous base, a pentose sugar, and a phosphate group. There are two types of nitrogen bases, purines and pyrimidines. Cytosine is common for both DNA and RNA, and thymine is present in DNA. Uracil is present in RNA in the place of thymine. A nitrogenous base is linked to the OH of 1-pentose sugar through an glycosidic linkage from a nucleoside, such as adenosine or deoxyadenosine, guanosine or deoxyguanosine, cytidine or deoxycytidine, and uridine or deoxythymidine. When a phosphate group is linked of OH of 5-3 of a nucleoside through a phosphoester linkage, a corresponding nucleotide is formed. Two nucleotides are linked to through 3 to 5 phosphoester linkage to form a nucleotide. From nucleotides can be joined in such a manner to form a polynucleotide chain. A polymer thus formed as at one end of free phosphate moiety at 5' end of a sugar, which is referred to as 5' end of polynucleotide chain. Similarly, that the other end of polymer sugar has free OH of 3' C group, which is referred to as 3' end of the polynucleotide chain. The backbone of polynucleotide chain is formed due to sugar and phosphate. The nitrogenous base is linked to the sugar moiety project from the backbone. In RNA, every nucleotide residue has an additional OH group present at 2' position in the ribose. Also, also in RNA, the uracil is found at the place of thymine. 5-methyl uracil, another chemical name for thymine. DNA is an acidic substance present in nucleus, was first identified by Friedrich Mescher in 1869. He named the nuclein. However, due to technical limitation in isolating such a long polymer intact, the elucidation of the structure of DNA remained elusive for a long period of time. It was only in 1953 that James Watson and Francis Crick, based on X-ray diffraction data produced by Maurice Wilkins and Rosalind Franklin, proposed a very simple but famous double helix model for the structure of DNA. One of the hallmarks of the proposition was based on pairing between the two strands of polynucleotide chains. However, this proposition was also based on the observation of Irwin Chargaff that for double-stranded DNA, the ratio between adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine are constant and equals 1. The base pairing confers a very unique property to the polynucleotide chains. They are said to be complementary to each other, and therefore its sequence of base in one strand is known as sequence. In other strand can be predicted also. If the strand from from a DNA, that is called parental DNA, acts as a template for synthesis of new strand, the two double stranded DNA called the daughter DNA thus produced would be identical to the parental DNA molecule. Because of this, the genetic implications of the structure of DNA became very clear. The saline features of the double helix of the structure of DNA are as follows. First, it is made of two polynucleotide chains where the backbone is constituted by sugar, phosphate, and base project inside. Second, the two chains have antiparallel polarity. Means if one chain is the had the polarity 5 to 3, the other has 3 to 5 The base two strands are paired through a hydrogen bond as one forming a base pairs. Adenine forms two hydrogen bonds with thymine and opposite strand of vice versa. Similarly, guanine is bonded with cytosine with 3 H bonds. As a result, always a purine comes opposite to a pyrimidine. This generates approximately uniform distance between the two strands of the helix. The two chains of the coiled right-handed fashion. The pitches of helix is 3.4 nanometer, and there all of 10 base pairs in each turn. Consequently, the distance between the BP and helix is approximately 0.34 nanometer. Fifth, the plane of the base of pair stacks over the other in double helix. This, in addition to H bonds, confers stability of helical structure. Compare the structure of purines and pyrimidines. Can you find the wide distance between the two polynucleotide chains and DNA remains almost constant? The proposition of double helix structure for DNA and simplicity in explaining the genetic implication and become revolutionary. Very soon, Francis Crick proposed a central dogma in molecular biology, which states that genetic information from DNA to RNA to protein. In some viruses, the flow of information is in reverse direction, that is, from RNA to DNA. Can you suggest a simple name to the process? Packaging of DNA helix, taken the distance between two consecutive base pairs of 0.34 nanometer. The length of the DNA double helix in typical mammalian cell is calculated simply by multiplying the total number of BP with the distance between two consecutive BP, that is 6.6 into 10 to the power 9 BP into 0.34 into 10 to the power minus 9 mbp. It comes out to be approximately 2.2 meters, and then that is far greater than dimension of a typical nucleus, approximately 10 to the power minus 6 meter. How such a long polymer packaged in a cell? The length of E. coli DNA is 1.36 millimeter. Can you calculate the number of base pairs in E. coli? In prokaryotes, the E. coli, though they do not have defined nucleus, DNA is not scattered throughout the cell. DNA being negatively charged is held with some proteins that have positive charges in a region termed as nuclear. The DNA in nuclear is organized and large loops held by proteins. In eukaryote, this organization is much more complex. There is a set of positively charged basic proteins called histones. A protein acquires charge depending upon the abundance of amino acid residues with charge side chains. Histones are rich in basic amino acid residues by lysine and arginine. Both the amino acid residues carry positive charges in their side chains. Histones are organized to form a unit of 8 molecules called histone octamer. The negatively charged DNA is wrapped around the positively charged histone octamer to form a structure called nucleosome. A typical nucleosome contains 200 BP of DNA helix. Nucleosomes constitute the repeating unit of our structure in nucleus called chromatin. Thread like a strain colored body is seen in nucleus. The nucleosomes in chromatin are seen as bead on string structure when viewed under electron microscope. Theoretically, how many such beads do you imagine are present in a mammalian cell? The beads on a string structure in chromatin is packaged to form chromatin fibers that are further coiled and condensed in metaphase stage of cell division to form chromosomes. The packaging of chromatin at higher level requires additional set of proteins that collectively are referred to as non-histone chromosomal proteins, NHC. In a typical nucleus, some of region of chromatin and are referred to as euchromatin. The chromatin that is more densely packed and stains darker is called heterochromatin. Euchromatin is said to be transcriptally active chromatin, whereas heterochromatin is inactive. The stars search for genetic material, even though the discovery of nuclein by Michel and proposition of principle of inert by Mendel were most at the same time, but that DNA act as genetic material looked too long to be discovered and proven. By 1926, the quest to determine the mechanism for genetic inheritance has reached the molecular level. Previous discoveries by Gregor Mendel, Walton Sutton, Thomas Hunt Morgan, and numerous other scientists had narrowed the search to chromosome located in the nucleus of most cells, but the question of the what molecule was actually genetic material had not been answered. Transforming principle. In 1928, Frederick Griffith, in a series of experiments with Streptococcus pneumoniae, he witnessed a miraculous transformation in the bacteria. During the course of his experiment, a living organism bacteria had changed in physical form. When Streptococcus pneumonicus bacteria are grown on a culture plate. Some produce smooth, shiny colonies, while other produce rough colonies. This is because the strain bacteria have mucus polysaccharide coat while R strain does not. Mice infected with the S strain virulent die from pneumonia infection, but mice infected with R strain do not develop pneumonia. S strain injected to mice died. R strain injected to mice live. Griffith was able to kill bacteria by heating them. He observed that heat killed S strain bacteria injected to mice did not kill them. When the S strain heat killed injected to a mice live. S strain heat killed plus R strain live. Injected mice dies. Injected pneumonia. Injected a mixture of heat killed S and live R bacteria. The mice died. Moreover, he recovered S bacteria from the dead mice. He concluded that the R strain bacteria had somehow been transformed by the heat killed S strain bacteria. Some transforming principle transferred from the heat killed S strain had enabled the R strain to synthesize a smooth polysaccharide coat and become virulent. This must be due to transfer of genetic material. However, the biochemical nature of genetic material was not defined from this experiment. Biochemical characterization of transforming principle. Prior to the work of Oswald Avre, Colin McLeod, and Michaelin MC Carity, the genetic material was thought to be a protein. They worked to determine the biochemical nature of transforming principle in Griffith's experiment. They purified the biochemical proteins DNA and RNA to form the heat-killed S cells to see which ones could transform the live R cells into S cells. They discovered that DNA alone can bacteria cause the form DNA alone from S bacteria cause R bacteria to be transformed. They also discovered that protein digesting enzymes, proteases, and RNA digesting enzymes RNAs did not affect transformation, so the transforming substance was not protein or DNA. RNA, sorry, digestion with the DNAs did inhibit transformation, suggesting that the DNA caused the transformation. They concluded that DNA is a hereditary material, but not all biologists were convinced. Can you think of any difference between DNAs and DNAs? The genetic material is DNA. The unequivocal proof that DNA's genetic material came from the experiment of Alfred Hershey and Martha Chase. They worked with viruses that infect bacteria called bacteriophages. The bacteriophage attaches to the bacteria and its genetic material, then enters the bacterial cell. The bacterial cells treat the virus genetic material as if it was its own and subsequently manufactures more virus particles. Hershey and Chase worked to discover whether it was protein or DNA from the viruses that entered the bacteria. They grew some viruses on medium that contained radioactive phosphorus and some others on medium that contained radioactive sulfur. Viruses grown in the presence of radioactive phosphorus contained radioactive DNA but not radioactive protein because DNA contains phosphorus but protein does not. Similarly, viruses grown on the radioactive sulfur contain radioactive protein but not radioactive DNA, but DNA does not contain sulfur. Radioactive phases are allowed to attach to E. coli bacteria. Then, as the infection proceeded, the viral coats were removed from the bacteria by agitating them in a blender. The virus particles were separated from the bacteria by spinning them in the centrifuge. Bacteria which was infected with virus that had a radioactive DNA were radioactive, indicating that DNA was the material that passed from the virus to the bacteria. Bacteria that were infected with virus that had radioactive proteins were not radioactive. This indicates that protein did not enter the bacteria from the viruses. DNA is therefore the genetic material that is from the virus to bacteria. Here is the diagram of Hershey Chase experiment. Infection, blending, centrifugation, the processes are given. Properties of genetic material DNA versus RNA. From the foregoing discussion, it is clear that the debate between protein versus DNA as a genetic material was unequivocally resolved from DNA. From Hershey Chase experiment, it became an established fact that it is DNA that act as genetic material. However, it subsequently became clear that in some viruses, RNA is a genetic material. For example, tobacco mosaic virus, QB, bacteriophage, etc. Answer to some of these questions, such as why DNA is predominant genetic material, whereas RNA perform dynamic function of messenger and adapter, has to be found from the differences between chemical structure of the two nucleic acid molecule. Can we recall the two chemical differences between DNA and RNA? A molecule that can act as genetic material must fulfill the following criteria. It should be able to generate replication. It should be stable chemically and structurally.
It should provide the scope for slow changes, mutation that are required for evolution. It should be able to express itself in the form of Mendelian characters. If one examines each requirement on one by one because of rule of base pairing and complementarity, both the nucleic acid DNA and RNA have the ability to direct their duplication. The other molecules in the living system, such as protein, fail to fulfill first criteria itself. The genetic material should be stable enough not to change with different stages of life cycle, age, or with change in physiology of the organism. Stability is one of the properties of genetic material, also very evident in Griffith's transforming principle itself. That heat which killed the bacteria at least did not destroy some of the properties of genetic material. This now can be easily be explained in light of DNA, that the two strands being complementary if separated by heating come together. When appropriate conditions are provided, further two OH group present at every nucleotide in RNA is a reactive group and makes RNA labile and easily degradable. RNA is also now known as catalytic, hence reactive. Therefore, DNA chemically is less reactive and structurally more stable when compared to RNA. Therefore, among the two nucleic acids, the DNA is a better genetic material. In fact, the presence of thymine at the place of uracil also confers additional stability to DNA. Detailed discussion about this requires understanding of the process of repair in DNA, and you will study these processes in higher classes. But the DNA and RNA are able to mutate. In fact, RNA being unstable mutate at a faster rate. Consequently, viruses have RNA genome and having shorter lifespan mutate and evolve faster. RNA can directly code for synthesis of protein, hence can easily express the characters. DNA molecule is dependent on RNA for synthesis of protein. The protein synthesis machinery has evolved around RNA. The above discussion is indicate that both RNA and DNA can function as genetic material, but DNA being more stable is preferred for storage of genetic information. For the transmission of genetic information, RNA is better. RNA word. From foregoing discussion, an immediate question becomes evident. Which is the first genetic material? It shall be discussed in detail in the chapter on chemical evolution, but briefly we shall highlight some of the facts and points. RNA was the first genetic material. There is now enough evidence suggests that essential life process such as metabolism, translation, splicing, etc. evolved around RNA. RNA used to important act as genetic material as well as catalyst. There are some important biochemical reaction in living system that are catalyzed by RNA. Catalysts are not by and not by protein enzymes, but RNA being catalyst was reactive and hence unstable. Therefore, DNA has evolved from RNA with chemical modification that make it more stable. DNA being double stranded and having complementary strand further resist changes by evolving a process of repair replication. While proposing the double helical structure of DNA, Watson and Crick had immediately proposed a scheme for replication of DNA. To quote their original statement, that is as follows: It has no escaped our notice that the specific pairing we have postulated immediately suggests a possible copying mechanism for genetic material. The scheme suggested that the two strands would separate and act as template for the synthesis of new complementary strands. After the completion of replication, each DNA molecule would have one parental and one newly synthesized strand. This scheme was termed as semi-conservative DNA replication. The experimental proof. The It is now proven that DNA replicates semi-conservatively. It was shown first in the Escherichia coli and subsequently in higher organisms such as plants and human cells. Matthew Messelson and Franklin Stahel performed the following experiment in 1958. They grew E. coli in a medium containing NH4Cl 15 NH4Cl 15, and that is the isotope of N is the heavy isotope of nitrogen as the only nitrogen source of for many generations. The result was that 15N was incorporated into newly synthesized DNA as well as other nitrogen containing compounds. This heavy DNA molecule could be distinguished from the normal DNA by centrifugation in cesium chloride CCl density gradient. Please note that 15 is not radioactive isotope and it can be separated from 14 and only based on densities. Then they transferred the cell into medium with normal NH14 and NH4 and look sample at various different time interval as the cells multiplied and extracted the DNA that remained as double-stranded helices. The various samples were separated independently on CCL gradient to measure the densities of DNA. The results are shown here. Separation of DNA by centrifugation. Thus, the DNA that was extracted from the culture one generation after the transfer of 15 and 14 and medium, that is after 20 minutes, E. coli divided in 20 minutes had a hybrid intermediate density DNA extracted from the culture after another generation, that is after 40 minutes. Second generation was composed of equal amount of this hybrid DNA and of light DNA. If E. coli was allowed to grow for 80 minutes, then what would be the proportion of light and hybrid densities of DNA molecule? Very simple experiment involving use of radioactive thymidine to detect distribution of newly synthesized DNA in the chromosomes was performed via faba beans by Taylor and colleagues in 1958. The experiment proved that the DNA in chromosomes also replicate semi-conservatively. The machinery and the enzymes. In living cells such as E. coli, the process application requires a set of catalysts. The main enzyme is referred to as DNA-dependent DNA polymerase, since it uses DNA template to catalyze the polymerization of deoxynucleotides. These enzymes are highly efficient enzymes as they have to catalyze polymerization of large number of nucleotides in a very short time. E. coli, that is only 4.6 into 10 to the power 6 BP. Compare it with the human whose deployed content is 6.6 into 10 to the power 9. BP completes the process of replication within 18 minutes. That means the average rate of polymerization has to be approximately 2000 BP per second. Not only do these polymerases have to be fast, but they also have to catalyze the reaction with high degree of accuracy. Any mistake during application would result into mutation. Furthermore, energetically, replication is a very expensive process. Deoxyribonucleoside triphosphates serve dual purpose. In addition to acting as substrates, they provide energy for polymerization reaction. The two terminal phosphates and deoxynucleoside triphosphates are high energy phosphates, same as in case of ATP. In addition to DNA-dependent DNA polymerases, many additional enzymes are required to complete the process of replication with high degree of accuracy. For long DNA molecules in the two-strand DNA cannot be separated in its entire length due to very high energy requirement. The replication occur within a small opening of DNA helix, referred to as application fork. The DNA-dependent DNA polymerase catalyzes polymerization only in one direction, that is 5' to 3'. This creates some additional complication at the replicating fork. Consequently, on one strand, the template of polarity 3' to 5', the replication is continuous, while on the other template with polarity 5' to 3' is discontinuous. The discontinuously synthesized fragments are later joined by the enzyme DNA ligase. The DNA polymerase on their own cannot initiate the process of replication. Also, the replication does not initiate randomly at any place in the DNA. This is a definite reason in nuclear DNA where the replication originates of region are termed as origin of replication. It is because of the requirement of the origin of replication that a piece of DNA, if needed to be propagated during recombinant DNA procedures, requires a vector. The vector provides a origin of replication. Further, not every detail of replication is understood well. In eukaryote, the replication of DNA takes place at S phase of the cell cycle. The replication of DNA and cell division cycles would be highly coordinated. A failure in cell division after DNA replication results in polyploidy, a chromosomal anomaly. You will learn the detailed nature of origin process occurring at this site in higher classes. We will read the next part, the rest of chapter in the next part.
Now come to the transcription. The process of copying genetic information from one strand of the DNA into RNA is termed as transcription. Here also, the principle of complementarity governs the process of transcription, except the adenosine complements now forms base pair with uracil instead of thymine. However, unlike in the process of replication, which once set in, the total DNA of an organism get duplicated. In transcription, only a segment of DNA and only one of the strands is copied into RNA. This necessitates the defining the boundaries that would demarcate the region and the strand of DNA that would be transcribed. Why both the strands are not copied during the transcription has the simple answer. First, if both strands act as a template, they would code for RNA molecule with different sequences. Remember, complementarity does not mean identical. And in turn, if they code for proteins, the sequence of amino acids in the proteins would be different. Hence, one segment of the DNA would be coding for two different proteins, and this would complicate the genetic information transfer machinery. Second, the two RNA molecules, if produced simultaneously, would be complementary to each other. Hence, would form a double strand RNA. This would prevent RNA from being translated into protein, and the exercise of transcription would become a futile one. Transcription unit. A transcription unit in DNA is defined primarily by the three regions in the DNA. First, a promoter, second, a structural gene, third, a terminator. There is a convention in defining the two strands of the DNA in the structural gene of a transcription unit. Since the two strands have opposite polarity and the RNA-dependent RNA polymerase also catalyze the polymerization in only one direction, that is 5' to 3'. The strand that has the polarity 3' to 5' acts as a template and is also referred to as template strand. The other strand, which has the polarity 5' to 3' and the sequence same as RNA except thymine at the place of uracil, is displaced during the transcription. Strangely, this strand, which does not code for anything, is referred to as coding strand. All the reference point while defining a transcription unit is made with coding strand. To explain the point, a hypothetical sequence from a transcription unit is represented below. 3' to 5' and you can see here is a sequence which is known as template sequence or template strand, and 5' to 3' which is known as coding strand. So it is expected to write the sequence of RNA transcribed from above DNA. Here is a transcription structure or transcription unit which is represented here. As you can see, transcription start site where there is a promoter, structural gene, template strand, terminator codons, coding strand, 5' to 3'. Further here, the promoter and terminator flank the structural gene in a transcription unit. The promoter is said to be located towards 5' end, which is known as upstream of the structural gene. The reference is made with respect to the polarity of coding strand. It is a DNA sequence that provides binding site for the RNA polymerase, and it is the presence of the promoter in a transcription unit that also defines the template and coding strands. By switching its position with terminator, the definition of coding and template strands could be reversed. The terminator is located towards the 3' end, which is known as downstream of the coding strand, and it usually defines the end of the process after transcription. There are additional regulatory sequences that may be present further upstream or downstream to the promoter. Some of the properties of these sequences shall be discussed while dealing with regulation of gene expression. Transcription unit and the gene. A gene is defined as the functional unit of inheritance, though there is no ambiguity that the genes are located on DNA. It is difficult to literally define a gene in terms of DNA sequence. The DNA sequence coding for tRNA or rRNA molecule also define a gene. However, by defining a cistron as a segment of DNA coding for polypeptide, the structural gene in a transcription unit could be said as monocystonic, mostly in eukaryotes, or polycystonic, mostly in bacteria or prokaryotes. In eukaryotes, the monocystonic structural genes have interrupted coding sequences. The genes in eukaryotic are split. The coding sequences or expressed sequences are defined as exons. Exons are said to be those sequences that appear in mature or processed RNA. The exons are interrupted by introns. Introns or intervening sequences do not appear in mature or processed RNA. The split gene arrangement further complicates the definition of a gene in terms of DNA segment. Inheritance of a character is also affected by promoter and regulatory sequences of structural genes. Hence, sometimes the regulatory sequences are loosely defined as regulatory genes, even though these sequences do not code for any RNA or protein. Further, types of RNA and process of transcription. In bacteria, there are three major types of RNAs: mRNA, messenger RNA, tRNA known as transfer RNA, and rRNA known as ribosomal RNA. All three RNAs are needed to synthesize a protein in a cell. The mRNA provides the template, tRNA brings amino acids and read the genetic code, and rRNAs play a structural and a catalytic role during translation. There is a single DNA-dependent RNA polymerase that catalyzes transcription of all types of RNA in bacteria. RNA polymerase binds to promoter and initiates transcription, which is known as initiation. It uses nucleoside triphosphates as substrate. You can see here the complete structure of transcription in bacteria is given, in which there is initiation, elongation and termination. Further, and polymerizes in a template dependent fashion following the rule of complementarity. It somehow also facilitates opening of the helix and continuous elongation. Only a short stretch of RNA remains bound to the enzyme. Once the polymerase reaches the terminator's region, the nascent RNA falls off, so also the RNA polymerase. This results in termination of transcription. An intriguing question is that how is the RNA polymerase able to catalyze all the three steps, which are initiation, elongation and termination? The RNA polymerase is only capable of catalyzing the process of elongation. It associates transiently with initiation factor sigma and termination factor rho to initiate and terminate the transcription respectively. Association with these factors alter the specificity of the RNA polymerase to either initiate or terminate. In bacteria, since the mRNA does not require any processing to become active, and also since transcription and translation takes place in same compartment, there is no separation of cytosol and nucleus in bacteria. Many times the translation can begin much before the mRNA is fully transcribed. Consequently, the transcription and translation can be coupled in bacteria. In eukaryotes, there are two additional complexities. First one, there are at least 3 RNA polymerases in nucleus in addition to RNA polymerase found in the organelles. There is a clear-cut division of labor. The RNA polymerase first transcribes rRNA. Here there are different stages and process of transcription in eukaryote. Further come to the line. That's are 20 srRNA, 10 srRNA and 5 srRNA. Whereas the RNA polymerase third is responsible for transcription of tRNA, 5 srRNA and snRNAs, which are known as small nuclear RNAs. The RNA polymerase second transcribes precursor of mRNA, the heterogeneous nuclear RNA, hnRNA. Second one. The second complexity is that the primary transcripts contain both the exons and introns and are non-functional. Hence, it is subjected to a process called splicing, whereas the introns are removed and exons are joined in a defined order. hnRNA undergoes additional processing called as capping and tailing. In capping, an unusual nucleotide methylguanosine triphosphate is added to the 5' end of hnRNA. In tailing, adenylate residues of 200 to 300 nucleotides are added to the 3' end in a template independent manner. It is the fully processed hnRNA, now called mRNA, that is transported out of the nucleus from translation. The significance of such complexities is now beginning to be understood. The split genes arrangement represent probably an ancient feature of genome. The presence of introns is reminiscent of antiquity, and the process of splicing represents the dominance of RNA word. In recent times, the understanding of RNA and RNA dependent processes in the living system have assumed more importance. Further come to the genetic code. During replication and transcription, a nucleic acid was copied to form another nucleic acid. Hence, these processes are easy to conceptualize on the basis of complementarity. The process of translation requires transfer of genetic information from a polymer of nucleotides to synthesize a polymer of amino acids. Neither does any complementarity exist between nucleotides and amino acids, nor could any be drawn theoretically. There existed ample evidences, though, to support the notion that changes in nucleic acids, which is known as genetic material, were responsible for change in amino acids in proteins. This led to the proposition of genetic code that could direct the sequence of amino acids during synthesis of proteins. If determining the biochemical nature of genetic material and the structure of DNA was very exciting, the proposition and deciphering of genetic code were most challenging. In a very true sense, it required involvement of scientists from several disciplines: physicists, organic chemists, biochemists, and geneticists. It was George Gamow, a physicist, who argued that since there are only 4 bases and if they have to code for 20 amino acids, the code should constitute a combination of bases. He suggested that in order to code for all 20 amino acids, the code should be made up of 3 nucleotides. This was very bold proposition because a permutation combination of 4 to the power 3, it means 4 into 4 into 4, would generate 64 codons, generating many more codons that required. Providing proof that the codon was a triplet was a more daunting task. The chemical method developed by Har Gobind Khurana was instrumental in synthesizing RNA molecules with defined combinations of bases, homopolymers, and copolymers. Marshall Nirenberg's cell-free system for protein synthesis finally helped the code to be deciphered. Severo Ochoa enzyme polynucleotide phosphorylase was also helpful in polymerizing RNA with defined sequences in a template-independent manner. Enzymatic synthesis of RNA. Finally, checkerboard for genetic code was prepared, which is given in table 5.1. Here you can see that all amino acids are given and different triplet codons for their synthesis. Read it carefully. The salient features of genetic code are as follows. The code is triplet, 61 codons code for amino acids and 3 codons code do not code for any amino acids. Hence, they functionally act as stop codons. Some amino acids are coded by more than one codon. Hence, the code is degenerate. The codon is read in mRNA in a contiguous fashion. There are no punctuations. The code is nearly universal. For example, from bacteria to human, triple U would code for phenylalanine. Some exceptions to these rules have been found in mitochondrial codons and in some protozoans. AUG has dual functions. It codes for methionine and it also acts as initiator codon. 6. UAA, UAG, and UGA are stop terminator codons. If following is the sequence of nucleotides in mRNA, predict the sequence of amino acid coded by it. Take help to the checkerboard. AUG, UUU, UUC, UUC, triple U, UUC. Now try the opposite. Following is the sequence of amino acids coded by an mRNA. Predict the nucleotide sequence in an RNA. Methionine, phenylalanine, 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 phenylalanine. Do you face any difficulty in predicting the opposite? Can you now correlate which two properties of genetic code you have learnt? We will discuss all about this in more expanded form of NCERT study. Mutations and genetic code. The relationships between genes and DNA are best understood by mutation studies. You have studied about mutation and its effect in chapter 4. Effects of large deletions and rearrangements in a segment of DNA are easy to comprehend. It may result in loss or gain of gene and so a function. The effect of point mutations will be explained here. A classical example of point mutation is change of a single base pair in gene for beta globin chain that results in the change of amino acids residue glutamate to alanine. It results into a diseased condition called sickle cell anemia. Effect of point mutations that inserts or deletes the base in structural gene can be better understood by following simple example. Consider the statement that is made up of following words, each having three letters, like a genetic code. Ram has red cap. If we insert a letter B in between HAS, means has, and red, and rearrange the statement, it would be read as follows: Ram has a BREDCAP. Similarly, if we now insert two letters at the same place, say BI, now it would be Ram has BIREDCAP. Now we insert three letters together, say BIG. The statement would read Ram has big red cap. The same exercise can be repeated by deleting the letters R, E, and D one by one and rearranging the statement to make a triplet word. Ram has a EDCAP, Ram has DCAP, Ram has CAP. The conclusion from the above exercise is very obvious. Insertion or deletion of one or two bases changes the reading frame from the point insertion or deletion. However, such mutations are referred to as frame shift insertion or deletion mutations. Insertion or deletion of three or its multiple bases inserts or delete in one or multiple codon, hence one or multiple amino acids, and reading frame remains unaltered from that point onwards. tRNA, the adapter molecule. From the very beginning of the proposition of code, it was clear to Francis Crick that there has to be a mechanism to read the code and also to link it to the amino acids. Because amino acids have no structural specialties to the read to the code uniquely, he postulated the presence of an adapter molecule that would on one hand read the code and on the other hand would bind to specific amino acids. The tRNA, then called snRNA, soluble RNA, was known before the genetic code was postulated. However, its role as an adapter molecule was assigned much later. tRNA has an anticodon loop that has bases complementary to the code, and it also has an amino acid acceptor end to which it binds to the amino acids. tRNA are specific for each amino acid. For initiation, there is another specific tRNA that is referred to as initiator tRNA. There are no tRNAs for stop codons. In figure 5.12, the secondary structure of tRNA has been depicted that looks like a clover leaf. In actual structure, that the tRNA is a compact molecule which looks like inverted L. Translation. Translation refers to the process of polymerization of amino acids to form a polypeptide. The order and sequence of amino acids are defined by the sequence of bases in the mRNA. The amino acids are joined by a bond which is known as peptide bond. Formation of a peptide bond requires energy. Therefore, in the first phase itself, amino acids are activated in the presence of ATP and linked together to their cognate tRNA, a process commonly called as charging of tRNA or amino acylation of tRNA. To be more specific, if two such charged tRNAs are brought close together, the formation of peptide bond between them would be favored energetically. The presence of a catalyst could enhance the rate of peptide bond formation. The cellular factory responsible for the synthesizing proteins is the ribosome. The ribosome consists of structural RNAs and about 80 different proteins. In its inactive state, it exists two subunits, a large subunit and a small subunit. When the small subunit encounters an mRNA, the process of translation of the mRNA to protein begins. There are two sites in the large subunit for subsequent amino acids to be bind, and thus we be close enough to each other for the formation of a peptide bond. The ribosome also acts as a catalyst. 23-sRNA in bacteria is the enzyme ribozyme for the formation of peptide bond. A translational unit in mRNA is the sequence of RNA that is flanked by the start codon AUG and the stop codon and codes for polypeptide. An mRNA also has some additional sequences that are not translated and are referred to as untranslated region UTR. The untranslated regions are present at both 5' end before start codon and 3' end after stop codon. They are required for efficient translation process. For initiation, the ribosome binds to the mRNA at the start codon AUG that is recognized only by the initiator tRNA. The ribosome proceeds to the elongation phase of protein synthesis. During this stage, complexes composed of an amino acid linked to tRNA sequentially bind to the appropriate codon in mRNA by forming complementary base pairs with the tRNA anticodon. The ribosome moves from codon to codon along the mRNA. Amino acids are added to one by one, translated into polypeptide sequences dictated by DNA and represented by mRNA. At the end, a release factor binds to the stop codon, terminating translation and releasing the complete polypeptide from the ribosome. Next, regulation of gene expression. Regulation of gene expression refers to a very broad term that may occur at various levels. Considering that gene expression results in the formation of a polypeptide, it can be regulated at several levels. In eukaryotes, the regulation could be exerted at first, transcriptional level, formation of primary transcript; processing level, regulation of splicing; third, transport of mRNA from nucleus to cytoplasm; and fourth, translational level. The genes in a cell are expressed to perform a particular function or a set of functions. For example, if an enzyme called beta-galactosidase is synthesized by E. coli, it is used to catalyze the hydrolysis of a disaccharide, lactose, into galactose and glucose. The bacteria use them as a source of energy. Hence, if the bacteria do not have a lactose around them to be utilized for energy source, they would no longer require to the synthesis of the enzyme beta-galactosidase. Therefore, in a simple term, it is the metabolic, physiological, or environmental conditions that regulate the expression of genes. The development and differentiation of embryo into adult organisms are also result of the coordinated regulation of the expression of several sets of genes. In prokaryotes, control of the rate of transcriptional initiation is the predominant set for control of gene expression. In a transcription unit, the activity of RNA polymerase at a given promoter is in turn regulated by interaction with accessory proteins, which affect its ability to recognize start sites. These regulatory proteins can act both positively as activators and negatively as repressors. The accessibility of promoter region of prokaryotic DNA is in many cases regulated by the interaction of proteins with sequences termed operators. The operator region is adjacent to promoter element in most operands, and in most cases the sequence of the operator bind a repressor protein. Each operand has its specific operator and specific repressor. For example, like operator is present only in the like operand and it interacts specifically with like repressor only. Further, about like operon. The elucidation of the like operon was also result of a close association between a geneticists Francis Jacob and biochemist Jacob Monod. They were the first to elucidate a transcriptionally regulated system in like operon. Here, like refers lactose. A polycystonic structural gene is regulated by common promoter and regulatory gene. Such arrangement is very common in bacteria and is referred to as operon. To name few such examples such as lycoperon, tryptophan operon, which is known as TRP operon, and ARA operon, HIS operon, and VAL operon, etc. The lycoperon consists of one regulatory gene, the I gene. Here the term I does not refer to inducer, rather it is derived from the word inhibitor, and three structural genes Z, Y, and A. The I gene codes for the repressor of the lycoperon. The Z gene codes for beta-galactosidase, which is primarily responsible for the hydrolysis of the disaccharide. Lactose into its monosystonic unit galactose and glucose. The Y gene codes for permease, which increases permeability of the cell to beta-galactosides. The A gene encodes a transacetylase. Hence, all the three genes produces in lycoperon are required for metabolism of lactose. In most other operons as well, the genes present in the operon are needed together to function in the same or related metabolic pathway, as shown in figure 5.15. You can see here, in the absence of inducer, repressor binds to the operator region O and prevents RNA polymerase from transcribing the operon. Here is repressor mRNA and it is repressor which is formed. Further, in the presence of inducer, transcription of like mRNA, and translation of transacetylase, permease, and beta-galactosidase. Here, repressor mRNA, which inactive form due to inducer, it is inactivated repressor. Further, lactose is the substrate for the enzyme beta-galactosidase, and it regulates switching on and off the operon. Hence, it is termed as inducer. In the absence of a preferred carbon source such as glucose, if lactose is provided in the growth medium of the bacteria, the lactose is transported into the cell through the action of permease. Remember, a very low level of expression of lycopene has to be present in the cell all the time, otherwise lactose cannot enter the cells. The lactose then induces the operand in the following manner. The repressor of the operon is synthesized all the time continuously from the I gene. The repressor protein binds to the operator region of the operon and prevents RNA polymerase from transcribing the operon. In the presence of an inducer such as lactose or allolactose, the repressor is inactivated by interaction with the inducer. This allows RNA polymerase access to the promoter and transcription proceeds, as we have seen in figure 5.14. Essentially, regulation of like operon can also be visualized as regulation of enzyme synthesis by its substrate. Remember, glucose or galactose cannot act as inducer for like operon. Can you think for how long the like operon would be expressed in the presence of lactose? Regulation of like operon by repressor is referred to as negative regulation. Like operon is under control of positive regulation as well, but it is beyond the scope of discussion in this level. Now, come to the Human Genome Project. In the preceding sections, you have learned that it is the sequence of bases in DNA that determines the genetic information of a given organism. In other words, genetic makeup of an organism or an individual lies in the DNA sequence. If two individuals differ, then their DNA sequences should also be different, at least at some places. These assumptions led to the quest of finding out the complete DNA sequence of human genome with the establishment of genetic engineering techniques where it was possible to isolate and clone any piece of DNA, and availability of simple and fast techniques for determining DNA sequences. A very ambiguous project of sequencing human genome was launched in year 1990. Human Genome Project was called a mega project. You can imagine the magnitude and requirements for the project if we simply define the aims of project as follows. Human genome is said to have approximately 3 into 10 to the power 9 base pairs, and if the cost of sequencing required $3 per base pair, the estimated cost of the beginning, the total estimated cost of the project would approximately $9 billion. Further, if the obtained sequences were to be stored in typed form in books, and if each page of the book contain 1000 letters and each book contain 1000 pages, then 3300 such books would be required to store the information of DNA sequence from a single human cell. The enormous amount of data expected to be generated also necessitated in the use of high-speed computational devices for data storage and retrieval and analysis. Human Genome Project was closely associated with the rapid development of a new era in biology called bioinformatics. Goal of Human Genome Project. Some of the important goals of HGP were as follows. First, identify all the approximately 20,000 to 25,000 genes in human DNA, determine the sequences of the 3 billion chemical base pairs that make up human DNA, store this information in databases, improve tools for data analysis, transfer related technologies. Other sectors such as industries address the ethical, legal, and social issues that may arise from the project. The Human Genome Project was a 13-year project coordinated by the US Department of Energy and the National Institute of Health during the early years of the HGP. The Wellcome Trust became a major partner. Additional contribution came from Japan, France, Germany, China, and others. The project was completed in 2003. Knowledge about the effects of DNA variations among individuals can lead the revolutionary new ways to diagnose, treat, and someday prevent the thousands of disorders that affect human beings. Besides providing clues to understanding human biology, learning about non-human organisms DNA sequences can lead to an understanding to their nature capabilities that can be applied towards solving challenges in healthcare, agriculture, energy production, and environmental remediation. Many non-human model organisms such as bacteria, yeast, Caenorhabditis elegans, a free-living non-pathogenic nematode, Drosophila, the fruit fly, plants, rice, and Rhabdosis have also been sequenced. Methodologies. The methods involved two major approaches. One approach focus on identifying all the genes that are expressed as RNA, referred to as expressed sequence tags (ESTs). The other took the blind approach of simply sequencing the whole set of genome that contained all the coding and non-coding sequence and later assigning different regions in the sequence with functions, a term referred to as sequence annotation. For sequencing the total DNA from a cell isolated and converted into random fragment of relatively small size. Recall DNA is a very long polymer and there are technical limitations in sequencing very long piece of DNA and cloned in suitable host using specialized vectors. The cloning resulted into amplification of each piece of DNA fragment so that it subsequently could be sequenced with ease. The commonly used hosts were bacteria and yeast, and the vectors were called BAC, bacterial artificial chromosomes, and YAG, yeast artificial chromosomes. The fragments were sequenced using automated DNA sequencers that work on the principle of a method developed by Frederick Sanger. Remember, Sanger is also credited for developing method for determination of amino acid sequence in proteins. These sequences were then arranged based on some overlapping regions present in them. This required a generation of overlapping fragments for sequencing. Alignment of these sequences was humanly not possible, therefore, specialized computer based programs were developed. These sequences were subsequently annotated and were assigned to each chromosome. The sequence of chromosome 1 was completed only in May 2006. This was the last 24 human chromosome, 22 autosomes, and XY to be sequenced. Another challenging task was assigning the genetic and physical maps on the genome. This was generated using information on polymorphism of restriction endonuclease in recognition sites and some repetitive DNA sequences known as microsatellites. One of the applications of polymorphism in repetitive DNA sequences shall be explained in next section of DNA fingerprinting. Salient features of human genome. Some of the salient observations drawn from Human Genome Project are as follows. The human genome contains 3164.7 billion base pairs. The average gene consists 3000 base pairs, but size vary greatly, with largest known human genome being dystrophin at 2.4 million bases. The total number of genes in is estimated at 30,000, much lower than previous estimated 80,000 to 1,40,000 genes. Almost all 99.9% nucleotide bases are exactly the same in all humans. The function are unknown for over 50% of the discovered genes. Less than 2% of the genome codes for proteins. Repeated sequence make up very large portion of the human genome. Repetitive sequences are stretches of DNA sequence that are repeated many times, sometimes hundreds to thousand times. They are thought to have no direct coding function, but they shed light on chromosome structure, dynamics, and evolution. Chromosome 1 has most genes, 2968, and the Y has fewest, 231 genes. Scientists have identified about 1.5 million locations where single base DNA differences, single nucleotide polymorphism, are called as SNPs, SNPs, occur in humans. This information promises to revolutionize the process of finding chromosomal locations for disease associated sequences and tracing human history. Application and challenges. Deriving meaningful knowledge from the DNA sequences will define research through the coming decades, leading to our understanding of biological systems. This enormous task will require the expertise and creativity of tens of thousands of scientists from varied disciplines in both the public and private sector worldwide. One of the greatest impact of the having the human genome sequence may will be enabling a radically new approach to biological research. In the past, researchers studied one or few genes at a time with whole genome sequences and new throughout output technologies. We can approach questions systematically and on a much broader scale. They can study all the genes in a genome, for example, all the transcripts in a particular tissue or organs or tumors, or how tens of thousands of genes and proteins work together in interconnected network to orchestrate the chemistry of life. DNA fingerprinting. As stated in the preceding section, 99.9% of base sequences among is the same as assuming human genome as 3 into 10 to the power 9 base pair. In how many base sequences would there be differences? It is these differences in sequence of DNA which make every individual unique in their phenotypic appearance. If one aims to find out genetic differences between two individuals or among individuals of a population, sequencing of DNA every time would be daunting and expensive task. Imagine trying to compare two sets of 3 into 10 to the power 6 base pairs. DNA fingerprinting is a very quick way to compare the DNA sequences of any two individuals. DNA fingerprinting involves identifying differences in some specific regions in DNA sequence called repetitive DNA, because in these sequences a small stretch of DNA is repeated many times. These repetitive DNA are separated from bulk genome DNA as different peaks during density gradient centrifugation. The bulk DNA forms a major peak and the other small peaks are referred to as satellite DNA depending on base composition. AT rich or GC rich, the length of segment and number of repetitive units. The satellite DNA is classified into many categories such as microsatellite, mini satellites, etc. These sequences normally do not code for any proteins, but they form a large proteins of human genome. These sequences show high degree of polymorphism and form the basis of DNA fingerprinting. Since DNA from every tissue such as blood, hair, follicle, skin, bone, saliva, sperm, etc. from an individual show the same degree of polymorphism, they become very useful identification tool in the forensic application. Further, as the polymorphisms are inheritable from parent to children, DNA fingerprinting is basis of paternity testing in case of disputes, as polymorphism in DNA sequence is the basis of genetic mapping of human genome as well as DNA fingerprinting. It is essential that we understand what DNA polymorphism means. In simple terms, polymorphism variation at genetic level arises due to mutations. Recall different kinds of mutations and their effects that you have already studied in chapter 4 and in the preceding section. In this chapter, new mutations may arise in an individual either in somatic cells or in germ cells, cells that generate gametes in sexually reproducing organisms. If a germ cell mutation does not seriously impair individuals' ability to have offspring who can transmit the mutation, it can be spread the other members of population through sexual reproduction. Allelic. Again, recall the definition of alleles from chapter 4. Sequence variation has traditionally been described as a DNA polymorphism. More than one variant allele at locus occurs in human population with a frequency greater than 0.01. In simpler terms, if an inheritable mutation is observed in a population at high frequency, it is referred as DNA polymorphism. The probability of such variation to be observed in non-coding DNA sequence would be higher, as mutations in these sequences may not have any immediate impact in individuals' reproductive ability. These mutations keep on accumulating generation and after generation and form one of the basis of variability polymorphism. There is a variety of different types of polymorphisms ranging from single nucleotide change to very large scale changes for evolution and speciation. Such polymorphisms are very important and you will study these details in higher classes. The techniques of DNA fingerprinting was initially developed by Alex Jeffries. He used a satellite DNA as a probe that shows very high degree of polymorphism. It was called variable number tandem repeats VNTR. The technique as used earlier involved southern blot hybridization using radio labeled VNTR as a probe included first isolation of DNA, second digestion of DNA by restriction into nucleus, third separation of DNA fragments by electrophoresis, fourth transferring blotting of separate DNA fragments to synthetic membranes such as nitrocellulose or nylon, Fifth, hybridization using a labeled VNTR probe. And sixth, detection of hybridized DNA fragments by autoradiography. A schematic representation of DNA fingerprints is shown in 5.16. The VNTR belongs to a class of satellite DNA referred to as a mini satellite. A small DNA sequence is arranged randomly in many copies. Numbers. The copy numbers varies from chromosome to chromosome in an individual. The number of repeat so very high degree of polymorphism as a result of size of VNTR varies in size from 0.1 to 20 kb. Consequently, after hybridization with VNTR probe, the autoradiogram gives many bands of different sizes. These bands give a characteristic pattern for an individual DNA. As shown in figure 5.16, it differs from individual to individual in a population except in the case of monozygotic, it means identical twins. The sensitivity of the technique has been increased by using polymerase chain reaction PCR. You will study about it in chapter 9. Consequently, DNA from a single cell is enough to perform DNA fingerprinting analysis. In addition to application of in forensic science, it has much wider applications such as here you can see the mechanism of PCR is given. Further, in determining population and genetic diversity, currently many different probes are used to generate DNA fingerprints. Summary. Nucleic acids are long polymers of nucleotides, while DNA stores genetic information. RNA mostly helps in transfer and expression of information through DNA, and RNA both function as genetic material, but DNA being chemically and structurally more stable in better genetic material. However, RNA is the first evolved and DNA was derived from RNA. The hallmark of the double-stranded helical structure of DNA is the hydrogen bonding between the bases from opposite strand. The rule is that adenine pairs with thymine with 2 hydrogen bonds and guanine with cytosine through 3 hydrogen bonds. This makes one strand complementary to the other. The DNA replicates semi-conservatively. The process is guided by complementary edge bonding. A segment of DNA that codes for RNA may be simplistic term can be referred as gene. During transcription, also one of the strand of the DNA acts as template to direct the synthesis of complementary RNA. In bacteria, the transcribed mRNA is functional, hence can directly be translated. In eukaryotes. The gene is split. Their coding sequences exons are interrupted by non-coding sequences in trans. Introns are removed and exons are jointed to produce functional RNA by splicing. The messenger RNA contains the base sequences that are read in combination of 3 to make triplet genetic code to code for an amino acid. The genetic code is read again on the principle of complementarity by tRNA that acts as an adapter molecule. There are specific tRNA for every amino acid. The tRNA binds to a specific amino acid at one end and pairs through H bonding with codes on mRNA through its anticodon. The site of translation protein synthesis is ribosome, which binds to mRNA and provide platform for joining of amino acids. One of the RNA acts as a catalyst for peptide bond formation, which is an example of RNA enzyme. Ribozyme translation is a process that have evolved around RNA, indicating that life began around RNA. Since transcription and translation are energetically very expensive process, these have been tightly regulated. Regulation of transcription is the primary step for the regulation of gene expression in bacteria. More than one gene is arranged together and regulated in units called operons. Like operon is the prototype operon in bacteria, which codes for genes responsible for metabolism of lactose. The operon is regulated by the amount of lactose in the medium where the bacteria are grown. Therefore, this regulation can also be viewed as a regulation of enzyme synthesis by its substrate. Human Genome Project was a mega project that aimed to sequence every base in human genome. This project has yielded much new information. Many new areas or avenues have opened us as a consequence of the project. DNA fingerprinting is a technique to find out variation in individuals of a population at DNA level. It works on the principle of polymorphism in DNA sequences. It has immense application in the field of forensic science, genetic biodiversity, and evolutionary biology. So, thank you. Read with us to complete your basics and to move further.